Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Steven's Week, your weekly update on marketing and technology. This week I'm going to talk about a new sales model of Volvo. I'm going to talk about how Twitter is waking up and how Microsoft is creating the future of digital meetings. Welcome to this episode, everyone. A lot of news about Twitter. They had an analyst day and they announced that they want to increase their revenues with 100% by 2023. They want to have 7.5 billion in revenues and they're speeding up their game. In the last couple of years, I think we need to be honest that Twitter wasn't really innovative, and you saw that. The amount of users, the active monthly users, decreased actually last year with almost 1%. In a year that digital activity increased worldwide, where Facebook with its billions of users is still growing, Twitter decreased. So there's a problem there. And they want to speed things up. They want to come up with a bunch of new features. So they're going to create some sort of a copycat of Facebook groups, Twitter communities. We're not sure yet if that's going to be the real name, but they want to create communities of people that in a closed room that they can share tweets with each other, share knowledge, so that it becomes more of a community effect. They also want to create new revenue flows that go beyond advertising. And they're thinking about a concept that they call super follows, like super followers, which means that followers could actually pay certain people that they follow to get extra content, to get specific, more privileged information. You could imagine that a certain celebrity would create a premium account where you could a few days before the others hear a new song, for instance, and you pay a certain fee for them. So then you become a super follower of that person. And of course, that just doesn't just create revenue for the influencers, it also creates revenues for Twitter. But it's important that influencers can create revenue on Twitter because that's what they do. And the more opportunities you give for them, the more active they become on the platform. And influencers are very often a magnet for other users to figure out what they are doing. So it's interesting and to see how that will work. One more thing about Twitter, they also announced a new, let's say, misinformation policy, specifically about COVID vaccines. If you share 5 times on purpose wrong information about COVID vaccines, you're out. So they're going to delete your account permanently. So that's a new rule. They're going to be more strict on that. Question is that the role of Twitter to decide that? And this is going to be a fundamental question for society. To what extent do we give that kind of power where you can just shut someone up? That kind of power, are we going to give this to the tech platforms, or should someone else decide upon that? That's going to be a huge discussion. It's not just Twitter that's doing this now. It's also Facebook and other platforms that decided on their own, and question is that a good thing? But good news, Twitter is waking up. There's a lot of new stuff coming up and I cannot wait to try it out. Microsoft is working on new kind of virtual meetings. With Microsoft Mesh, they're creating or they're developing holographic virtual meetings, where the goal is that you are sitting together in a virtual room, but it's 3D. Today, our virtual meetings are 2-dimensional. What Microsoft is making is 3-dimensional meetings and event possibilities. And the cool thing is, and this is innovative, I haven't seen this anywhere else yet, is that it's not linked to a certain device. It's not just linked to a virtual reality set. It's not just linked to their HoloLens. They're going to link that to multiple devices to make it as broadly accessible as possible. Today, the graphics are not that fantastic yet. They're avatars and you can clearly see that it's digital, but imagine a couple of years from now where you're together virtually in 3D just like we are today. I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it be? That's going to be the next level in terms of virtual meetings, and I'm convinced that the future of virtual meetings is going to be 3-dimensional, and Microsoft is doing great work on that perspective. Volvo is the next car brand that mentions the end date of making traditional car engines, and with Volvo it's going to be 2030. By 2030, 100% of their fleet will be electrical. Jaguar announced it a couple of weeks ago that it would be 2025. Ford is saying 2030. So you see, between 2025 and 2030, it's going to be a complete tipping point of the car industry. But what is also interesting is something else that Volvo said. They said we're going to switch to electrical vehicles, and at the same time, 100% of our sales, our car sales, will be online. You will not have the opportunity anymore to buy cars on a different channel. It will all go online. This doesn't mean that Volvo dealerships will disappear. It will mean that their role will change. Probably they will become smaller. And the goal is to make sure that people order online and that maybe cars will even be delivered at your own doorstep. So you feel in that entire industry that seemed to be so traditional for decades long, had the same sales model for decades long, next 10 years, that's going to fundamentally change. This week, Google announced that they will no longer track you all over the internet. So if you go on Google, which all of us do, when you then surf to other websites, they track that behavior, or they've been doing that. They will stop doing that as from this year. And it's another step forward. For Google, they already announced a couple of months ago that they will stop working with third-party cookies to track your behavior and to store your behavior. So this is going to change the way that their advertising is being sold. But they feel that in today's world, and to keep the internet open and democratic, it's not in line with the current mindset in terms of privacy anymore. And they want to change that. They will still track you in the Google universe, which is pretty large, of course. That's the advantage that they have. But beyond that, they will completely change their policy. And this will probably change the way that they offer their advertising opportunities to clients. So another step in the privacy evolution. And in the past decade, we saw that we always chose convenience over privacy. I think in this decade that just got started, in the next 10 years, we're going to see that we're going to have that combination of privacy and convenience, and companies like Google are doing important work there. So guys, this was my weekly update. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to share it with your friends and family. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. And above all, I wish you a wonderful weekend. See you again next week, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.